Hello fantastic folks, welcome to another video. Last time I made a video about fireworks. Please do check it out. And you know what? I enjoyed doing it so much I thought I'd make another information type video. So this time I'm doing a video all about birthdays. So basically it's my birthday very soon. And it got me pondering and wondering, why do we celebrate birthdays? And moreover, when did people start celebrating birthdays? It's a bit strange if you think about it too much. I mean, everyone just sort of goes, yo, you're existing for another year and you're still alive, so have a cake. Not that I am ever going to turn down cake. Cake is just forever. Anyway, of course, I was like, I have to find out more, I have to research more, I have to know. And then I thought, of course, I should do a video about it and share what I found with you guys. Maybe I wonder a little bit too much about random stuff. But you know what? If you like finding out about random stuff too, then come on in, you're in the right place. Welcome, brethren. So let's kick this thing off. So when did people start celebrating birthdays? Birthdays didn't really begin until calendars were invented. Originally, early civilizations had no way of keeping track of the passage of time other than by using the position of the sun and the moon. This made it a bit tricky to sort of mark a person's specific day of birth, sort of annually. Obviously, they knew when they were originally born, but after that it gets a bit hazy. It wasn't until ancient people began to actually document the cycles of the moon, sort of, tracking the phases of the moon, they began to think, there's a pattern here. And this also correlated with the changing of the seasons. Again, they started to notice a pattern and they started documenting it and writing it down. And so it was these changes that caused them to create the first calendar, where they put it all down. They were able to compartmentalize, yeah, that's it, the days and the seasons and the months, and we got dates. And when you've got dates and you've got a way of marking dates, you're in the business for remembering birthdays. And of course other special events as well. In the Old Testament of the Bible is the earliest mention of a birthday, around 3000 BC, and it was a reference to the birthday of one of the pharaohs. But studies have shown that it's not celebrating their physical birth, but rather it's celebrating the day of their coronation. Because the ancient Egyptians believed that when a pharaoh is crowned, he transforms into a god. And of course that is way more important than his physical birth, because turning into a god is pretty epic. It's assumed that the Greeks may have adopted this Egyptian tradition of celebrating the birth of gods. They believed that days of important change, such as birthdays, would open up their world to evil spirits. What they did is they lit candles as a way to protect themselves from these spirits, as well as gathering together with friends and family, and they would protect them from harm, the person whose birthday it was, with good cheer and celebration and good thoughts and good wishes and lots of positivity. And they would give gifts as well to bring even more good cheer. So much so that the evil spirits would just flee. The ancient Romans were the first to celebrate the birth of the common man. Originally, it appears that it was only royalty and religious figures that had their birthdays celebrated, but the Romans changed this by celebrating the birthdays of regular Roman citizens. However, they did also create public holidays to honour the birthdays of some more famous citizens. One Roman birthday tradition involved giving a special cake baked with wheat flour, olive oil, grated cheese and honey to any Roman man turning 50 years old. However, sadly, it appears that female birthdays were not celebrated until about the 12th century, which is, sad. It has to be mentioned though that many Christians didn't celebrate birthdays historically because of the link to paganism. But after the church started celebrating the birth of Jesus at Christmas, most Christians began to welcome birthdays. As a Christian myself, I confess I never realised that in the past Christianity frowned upon birthdays. I'm glad we celebrate them now though. After all, the celebration of a birthday is a way to thank God for giving you life and, to think to the future, to plan and make new goals and to consider the plan that God has. So I have found that very quickly birthdays became an important celebration in countries all around the world. For example, in China, birthdays are really important, especially a child's first birthday, which is often considered more special than most. I'm going to talk a little bit more about birthdays around the world later on. So here's another question. Why do we sing Happy Birthday? The song that many of us are familiar with actually used to have different lyrics. I was really surprised. Two sisters, Patty and Mildred Hill, were both school teachers in the US state of Kentucky. They wrote a song called Good Morning to All in 1893, which was published in a book for other school teachers to use. The song was meant to be used in class by pupils to welcome in the new school day. However, the melody was slightly altered and the lyrics were changed to what we now recognise as Happy Birthday today. It's unclear who changed the words to Happy Birthday to You, but in 1933 the new version of the song ended up being used by Irving Berlin in a musical. The Hill sisters found out and sued, claiming that they had the copyright of the song. And you know what? They won the case. And the courts have ruled that the copyright still holds to this day. It's important to mention that the song Happy Birthday is sung in primarily, although not exclusively, the UK and the US. But many other countries from around the world have their own awesome versions of a Happy Birthday type song. So the next thing I was wondering is, why do we give and receive birthday cards? In England, the tradition of sending birthday cards began around 100 years ago. Now millions of cards are sent each year to wish loved ones a happy birthday worldwide. Greeting cards date back to the ancient Chinese and Egyptian histories as a way of sending goodwill. In the early 15th century, this new way of celebrating special occasions came over to Europe and transformed rapidly into what we know today. When the first postage stamp was issued in the UK in 1840, and with the advances in printing, birthday cards began to travel further and faster than they ever had before, especially when the railways were introduced, as post trains could help get cards to their destinations in a matter of hours. This card sending custom spans from New Year's cards to Easter cards to Valentine's Day cards and birthday cards. Sending cards is a staple in most countries. It's a tradition that hopefully won't end. Although I do know that posting a birthday message on someone's Facebook page is, kind of tempting and pretty convenient and obviously very popular. But let's face it, it's really handy when you forget your friend's birthday. I'm with you there. The next thing that I was pondering on, or about, is why is it common to have a birthday cake and also have a birthday cake with candles on it? So, as I mentioned earlier, the ancient Greeks introduced candles to birthday events. However, they also had cakes too. The cakes were not made for people though, they were made for the gods, specifically in the case of candles on cake, for the lunar goddess Artemis. To honour her, the Greeks would offer up moon-shaped cakes decorated with lit candles, which gave the effect of the glowing, radiant moon. It must have been really pretty. Also, they were the first to make wishes when blowing out the candles, but for them, making a wish was just another way of communicating with the gods. But it took until the late 18th century for German bakers to invent the birthday cake as we know it today. An important step forward in the idea of traditional children's birthdays was the start of Kinderfest. This was the name of a German birthday party that is very close to the kind of birthday parties we know at the moment. The party was held for German kids, or Kinder and featured birthday cake adorned with candles. Children were given one candle on top of the cake for each year that they had been alive, plus one for the next year. Blowing out these candles and making a wish was a big part of these celebrations. Originally, sweet cakes were a birthday treat that only the wealthy could afford. This was because the ingredients required were considered a luxury for a long time. However, when products became more mass-produced, due to the Industrial Revolution, prices fell and the ingredients for cake became more affordable. This allowed bakeries the option of offering customers pre-made cakes at lower prices. Of course, many chose to bake their cakes at home too. So that's where the tradition of having birthday cake and having it with candles comes from. So why do people have birthday parties? Some celebration rituals date back to the ancient Mesopotamians, and of course the Egyptians, who first recognised patterns in time and were among the first to develop that all-important calendar. Initially, nobility were the only ones to be honoured with birthday parties. Nevertheless, the nobility often invited the more common citizens to participate in festivities. In the late 1800s, children's parties were organised by parents and featured many guests. The German Kinderfest being used as a good example of how a proper kids' party ought to be. By the early 1900s, parties became increasingly influenced by peer culture, which began to dominate especially among older children, where the birthday girl or boy had more control over the guest list and entertainment. By the 1920s, children were now firmly associating birthday parties with cakes, gifts, and party decorations, and it has stayed pretty much the same way ever since. I couldn't look at birthday traditions without looking at the traditions from all around the world. I mean, it's so diverse and so interesting. So this is what I have learnt. Of course, I wasn't able to do every country because, well, there are a lot of countries in the world, but here's the interesting things that I've found out so far. Latin American countries. A girl's 15th birthday is celebrated with a quinceañera. Apologies if I said that wrong. The celebration begins with a church mass and ends with a huge party. This is because it is both religious and a social recognition of the transition into womanhood. Another fairly well-known Latin American, but primarily Mexican, birthday tradition involves beating an object with a stick until it bursts open. Yeah, you probably guessed it, it's a piñata. Piñatas are featured in celebrations, not just birthdays, and can take so many different kinds of forms. I mean, you'd be surprised. In both Brazil and Jamaica, there are traditions involving getting flour thrown at you. Brazilian children actually take it a step further by throwing eggs as well. It sounds crazy and really messy, but I have to confess that does actually sound kind of fun. Canadians also like to get really messy, and apparently they get greased, as they call it, which basically means on their birthdays their friends and family ambush them and try and get margarine or butter on their noses. Apparently this practice is done to ward off bad luck. Sometimes people in the United States will give birthday pinches or even punches, but in Italy, Argentina and Hungary, they take a slightly different approach by tugging at the ears of the person whose birthday it is, one tug for each year of their life. Food-wise, I found out that in China, they eat noodles on their birthday, called chang xiao mein, and this is to symbolise longevity. In the Netherlands, they have tarties, which are tarts filled with fruit and are topped with whipped cream, and it's pretty common for Russians to have personalised pies for their birthday. I'm kind of feeling a bit hungry now. I mean, a personalised pie. I want a personalised pie. In Vietnam, people don't actually celebrate individual birthdays. Instead, everybody celebrates together on Tet. Again, I'm sorry if I said that wrong. Which is the day that celebrates Vietnamese New Year, and everyone turns a year older together. However, in some countries, particularly in Europe, people celebrate name days as well, or instead of birthdays. However, in some countries, particularly in Europe, people celebrate name days as well, or instead of birthdays. A name day is a tradition where an individual celebrates their given name. The tradition originated with the Catholic and Orthodox calendar of saints, where believers named after a specific saint would celebrate that saint's name day. In many countries, however, there is no longer a specific tie with Christianity anymore. There are many people that consider name days to be equally or even more significant than their birthdays. So there we go. I know I wasn't able to mention all the exciting and interesting birthday customs from around the world, and I dare say I might have made some, no, I know I've made some mistakes probably there. So please write in the comments and tell me your birthday traditions, and feel free to correct me on anything. Or add some information that you know. I definitely would love to hear from you. I hope that you found this video interesting yourself, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. If you did like it, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe for more content. Thank you again. Have a lovely day. Bye bye.